This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
It is Monday, 4th December 2023. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. This is news to 6 a.m. on News Power Digital. Venezuelans are now awaiting the results of Sunday's referendum backed by President Nicolas Maduro's government over the Essequibo region, oil-rich, that is the subject of a long-running border dispute with Guyana. The five-question referendum includes a question rejecting the International Court of Justice jurisdiction to decide to which country's territory belongs along the Essequibo River. The vote took place across 11,122 voting centers across the country. On Friday, the International Court of Justice responded to a request from Guyana to halt the referendum, ordering Venezuela to refrain from taking any action that would alter the status quo without expressly forbidding the vote. Both countries hailed the ruling as backing their position. Meanwhile, Guyana's President Irfan Ali assures Guyanese there's nothing to fear in the coming days from Venezuela's referendum yesterday, Sunday. Speaking during a day of public awareness and prayer held at the Muslim Youth Organization on Sunday, Dr. Ali assured the level of coverage on the matter was not a sign that there was any imminent danger. However, he did indicate the government had been doing a lot of work to mobilize international support. On the local front, the licensing trade unit of the Ministry of Trade and Industry is advising the public to be vigilant and get familiar with all the requirements and procedures to import and or purchase a foreign use vehicle. The advice comes amid concerns of an upsurge in the number of reported cases of members of the public being defrauded of their monies while attempting to obtain foreign use vehicles. While members of the public are allowed to import foreign use vehicles for their personal and or commercial use, the ministry recommends persons utilize as far as possible the services of a registered foreign used car dealer. Such entities have undergone strict compliance requirements and are actively monitored by the Trade Licensing Unit of the Ministry. Minister of Planning and Development Penelope Beckles at COP28 says early warning systems are effective but cost. COP28 continued yesterday in Dubai at the Canada Pavilion. One of the discussion sessions focused on the theme, leaving no one behind, collaborating to scale up early warnings for all by 2027. Minister of Planning and Development Penelope Beckles cautioned that early warning signs, while effective, come with complexities and costs. A new UN report released on Saturday found 101 countries now have some sort of early warning system in place, 6 up from last year, and double the number in 2015. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres introduced early warnings for all initiative in 2022 with a vision to establish an effective early warning system for every person on Earth by the end of 2027. In news of the region, Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley is calling for policies to be adopted to help mitigate global temperature increases in order to avoid the loss of human lives. Prime Minister Mottley made the appeal while speaking at the UN Climate Change Conference in Dubai over the weekend. Meanwhile, Bahamas Prime Minister Philip Davis cited the need for urgent global action to deal with the impact of climate change. And in sports, some good news. The West Indies cricket team will go into the second one-day international against England on Wednesday with a 1-0 lead in the 3-match series. The Caribbeans had won the first ODI against the visitors by 4 wickets at the Sir Vivian Richards Cricket Stadium in Antigua on Sunday. Set 326 to win, the regional side reached 326 for 6, or 48.5 overs. Captain Shai Hope top scoring with 109 not out, his 16th ODI century, and opener Alec Athanas providing support with 66 runs, and Romario Shepherd 48. Earlier, England made 325 all out with Harry Brooks top scoring on 71 runs. And that is news to 6 a.m. right here on News Power Digital. We'll have major news coming your way at 7 a.m. Good morning.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
Morning, neighbors. It is the 4th day of December. How you guys doing? 21 days to Christmas. 3 weeks from today, it would be Christmas. But thank you so much for joining us on the Power Breakfast Show on Power 102 Digital. Of course, let's get straight into the WTs. this morning. Started with traffic. Valencia Stretch is a bit busy this morning. A little bit of volume from Piarco towards Orange Grove, and pretty much that's it. A little volume by El Aranguez and getting to Port of Spain. I got no problems there whatsoever. San Fernando, you're pretty clear on the solo. You'll pick up your traffic from Chase Village towards Sugar Gornas, and then Main Road is beginning to build. And just by Charlieville, heading towards the interchange, you're going to get some traffic. All right, that's the T's. Let's do the W's. See what our weather is going to be like for today. It is 24 degrees at both Piarco International Airport and at Crown Point in Tobago. And the Met Office is saying it's going to be mainly fair and breezy, despite a few isolated showers. All right. Of course, let's check some temperatures across our listenership. Toronto, Houston at 2 degrees. Miami, 22. Orlando, 21. New York, put on a pair of shorts. You're at 7 degrees. Atlanta, also at 7 degrees. London, 7 degrees. The number for today, 7. Tampa, 21. Washington, D.C., 7 degrees. All right. Wow, look at that. 7 degrees everywhere. Really the number for today. Let's see who's on this. Hello's first thing this morning. I'm going to our YouTube and video streams. See what's happening there on YouTube. We have Oliver Man Warren. We've got Garth Cillier out in Baltimore, Maryland. We've got Wendy and James, Marcia Rock, CJ New York, Wayne B in Covington, Georgia, Carol Joseph, D. Pierre, Ray out in West Palm Beach, Florida, Carol Guevara, Trinidad Margot. Good morning to you. Hope all is well. Hope you guys had a great weekend. And of course, on WhatsApp, good morning to Ms. Malone. You too can send us a message via WhatsApp at 318-1021. All right. And you can hear him. Pablo is in the office today. He's in the office today. AV is off, making a set of noise. Good morning to you, Pablo. Good morning to you, Wendell Stephen.
Oh, he looks human-like in that
What are
office.
you talking about? Me? Had to be.
He looks like someone that we can all relate to in that little office there. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning,
you
guys.
You always used to have this intimidating background with them set a skull in the
That's to keep you all at bay. That's to keep you all in check.
in the glass case. But good morning, Steve. Good morning, Richard. Good morning to
Let's keep the visitors
Good morning,
happy.
listeners.
We like to steer, you know.
Huh?
The visitors could focus on something, you know. Good morning.
It's a beautiful Monday morning in Trinidad and Tobago.
Mm-hmm.
Today's what, the 4th or the 5th?
Today is the 4th of December, 3 weeks again.
Wow. Exactly 3 weeks again to
Yeah.
Christmas.
If you have not put up your Christmas tree and your outdoor lights and so on, I bet your bottom dollar by next weekend it'll be up, hopefully.
Yeah. My neighborhood normally lights up, but I haven't seen anybody really with lights as yet, coming to think of it.
I feel like we're losing that tradition in the country.
You think so?
Yeah, we need to
I
kind
like
of
my lights.
have a national, you know, the Ministry of Tourism and Culture and the RC to get a big Christmas campaign going on.
Yeah.
Get people in the mood and stuff.
Or
Yeah.
is it that we are expecting it too early? Maybe
It's December 4th, Wendell, 21 days. What too early?
I know, but maybe it never used to happen so early and we
You
didn't.
know, you start early.
Ah.
It used to happen early. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
But at least by December 1st.
Mhm.
But I don't know.
Yeah. But I love seeing lights. I used to do that growing up, driving around my family to just look at lights by the background things on the highway, by Webb's in Arima, a plant place off Tumpuna Road in Arima. Oh, that used to be so beautiful. Crowds of people used to be in that back road there because it was a back road, almost like a dead end road. And crowds of people used to be in the back there looking at lights. You know, and several other places you used to pass along by the botanical gardens, you know.
Is that lit up yet? I know by the Ministry of Agriculture. And
Well,
No,
last night, I was actually out in Port of Spain last night because I went to the Marinette's Corral. I went belatedly because I had some work doing home and then belatedly, I decided to drag my son out. He went to his first play theater the other day, and he went to his first Marionettes chorale. So belatedly, we went down. We reached a bit late, but a little late, but all in all, it was a beautiful show. Good morning, Janelle John Bates, who was part of the chorale, who sold me the tickets actually. But I enjoyed it again. This was my second year going, his first year. But I had all intentions of driving through Port of Spain after, but the traffic was so horrendous coming out of Queen's Hall. We ended up taking some back roads to get to McDonald's. I don't know what this boy have with McDonald's. And then I went down the Colville Street and onto the right road with clean forgetting to pass through town to see if any improvements were done to the lights, because that was my intention.
I passed this morning, none.
Yeah.
Clearly, Central Bank and or the Treasury lit up that little portion in front of Central Bank.
Yeah.
And everything else is actually worse than dismal because it's nasty. It's not even clean.
No, it's not.
Good morning, Port of Spain City Corporation. You're off to a great start.
Wow. Well, I'm surprised to hear that because they've been engaged in a cleanup campaign over the last few weeks.
Really?
Everybody has cleaned up Tuesday morning.
Yeah, they've had a citywide cleanup campaign over the last few weekends.
Let me tell you something. I mean, this is not brain tissue. You were there for how many years? 14? 19? 21 years. I would imagine the city corporation knows that the weekend, the promenade has the heaviest use. From Friday to Sunday night. Would you agree with that?
I agree.
And you would put something in place so that early Monday morning or late Sunday night, the promenade is cleaned up, so people coming into the city Monday morning have a wonderful welcome to the capital of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
No, apparently not. That is too much to expect.
I have always proposed that the corporation had developed a relationship with CPEP contractors in the area. That was always one of my proposals, so that continuous cleaning could be done in certain areas, and in particular the promenade and Arapit Avenue. People should never see. I saw how they did it in Barcelona. They continuously had people walking around with a little cart and a broom, scooping up stuff. And I'm talking about continuously. And that is what is needed.
Good morning, Yazid Mohammed. Yazid is asking us what's going on with NIS. He applied for retirement benefits in April of 2022, and this is December of 2023, and he's still processing. Boy, you have to be on the case every month.
Yeah, you do.
I know friends who went through that, and if you are not on their case every month, they just dismiss you.
Yep.
You have to go there every month, and don't call, go.
Yeah.
So listen to me. I'm retired.
I think there's a certain timing too, in terms of how early you can start that process, depending on your retirement age. I think there's that too. We really need to get an expert in to talk NIS again.
If Yazid is 60, it should kick in one time. They said ideally you can start 6 months before to send in your documents.
Yeah.
So you could kick in on your 60th birthday.
Yeah.
But I know. No, Karen, my friends are still up. The appointment to turn up, I said, my mom money. I retired on my money. I put my money in there, my money. All you put my money, my money.
Yeah.
Okay? Because in many cases, people stop working and stop getting an income at 60, and that is what they're depending on. So, our money. Okay. And even if you're still working, our money still. It's mine. I put it in there. It's mine. I put it in there for years. How much? It's 712 contributions or something, so?
750.
750.
Yeah.
Please. Anyway, good morning to the West Indies cricket team, Nando.
I missed the victory because I left to go out.
He's Barbadian, right?
Who's that?
Shai Hope.
Shai Hope is Bajan, yes.
Yeah, he turned it around. When they were a little shaky. Squad 1 is 109.
Shai Hope should be playing Test cricket again. That's my honest opinion. That young man has an extreme amount of talent, and I don't know what is going on with West Indies when they see this talent in these young fellas, And then, I mean, it's true, sometimes they disappoint you, but still, you had to invest in them. And he is an investment, I think, worth it. You understand?
The issue, and this is somebody I heard who is a cricketer aficionado,
Mm-hmm.
the selection of the West Indies team has always been political.
Mm-hmm.
The difference between now and 40 years ago, in his opinion, is that there were so many good players. No matter who you choose, you had a good team.
Right. Mm-hmm.
He said, now you have to be careful who you're choosing because not everybody is good or has consistency.
That is a
So he
fact.
said it was so great in Sir Vivian Richards and Clive Lord in their days that even if you choose politically, you're going to end up with a good team.
Yes.
Would that be a good analysis?
That is a very good analysis.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had really great players back then.
And it wasn't one or two, it was a cadre of really good West Indian players. So that's why we dominated. But now, when you have 5 out of 20,
Mm-hmm.
if politics keep out 2, you're dead, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that is the problem. He said there's always been politics in the selection because, I mean, depending on who they selected, where they selected us from, they find a way to gene them people.
Yeah.
You understand? And justify it.
Yeah. I was surprised when I came back home to hear that they won because when I left home, the 2 Vuppers had just out. Hetmeyer and Rutherford. Rutherford, like, he make a bet because this is his first one-day international ever for West Indies, right? First ball he hit for 6. Well, after that was just a total disaster. I don't know how much more he made, but he out-Vupping too. 2 Vupping left-handers we picked, and we had a talented young man like Darren Bravo there to pick, who informed. But they went with Hetmeyer and Rutherford. And then the next Vupper, Shepherd, I think, out, and I say, okay, let me go. And I left. I was really surprised when I came home last night, that somebody who's not a cricket fan, living all the way out in Portugal, text me to say West Indies win. I say, you joking. So I was happy to hear that they won. So congratulations. I really don't even know how they managed that. But Shai Hope was in the wicket still when I left. So I would imagine he would have been the one to lead them to victory.
But they were set 326, and I'm reading it because I'm not a cricket fan.
Mm-hmm.
I support anything West Indies, but mainly cricket. They were set 326, England made 325, and they reached 326 for 6. So they had 4 wickets to spare, 48.5 overs.
So then they didn't lose any more wickets after I left then. Well, that's amazing.
Apparently not.
That's amazing.
Right. And he made his 16th ODI century.
Very good. Very well.
Morning, Raghubar Singh.
Hi, good morning, guys, and good morning to our listeners, wherever you are.
Morning, Rich.
I'm Avriling this morning, so Avril has 2 days off. So.
So are you going to say log on? Are you going to say?
That's right. Wouldn't sound as good as Avril, but. Well, good morning to Venezuela and Guyana. Interesting weekend for geopolitics in the region. The ICC ruled on Friday, which is quite a long, nebulous ruling, if you ask me.
ICJ.
Huh?
I say ICJ.
ICJ, ruled with a long, nebulous ruling. You know how this go, which both countries have claimed as a victory for their positions. They said basically that they hope Venezuela doesn't do anything, and they also said that they have no remit in telling a sovereign country whether to have a referendum or not, which makes sense. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't tell if trying to be free to have a referendum on something in the Caribbean to take Barbados, you can tell us yes or no. No, they can't. They can tell us not to act on it. But I ain't see it, and Venezuela has a strange position. They don't recognize the court, but if it go in their favor, they steam victory. Good morning, President Maduro. Go figure. But this is all about him and the election next year. That's basically what this is about. This is a show of political strength and force. If I give all you 3/4 of or 2/3 of Guyana, it means all you have to re-elect me. Because I'm already not too popular right now because 7 million, number 20 million people leave the country because of me. That's basically what it is. You understand? Almost a little over a quarter of the country leave because of me, and they're trying to keep the people who here. And those who didn't leave, some of them still don't like me.
Or a lot of them still don't like him.
So right now, we're struggling.
Mm.
So like most, I wouldn't say dictatorial, but I wouldn't say that. It might start an international incident. Most unlevel-headed leaders will take to a show of force.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
when do you expect the actual results to be out today?
Yeah, but it's
The referendum,
11,000 something voting centers.
the referendum was yesterday, right?
Yeah.
11,122 voting centers. So, and it is about 21 million. Well, the remaining population is 21 million. But I presume out of that, if you discount children who can't take part in a referendum, it would be generally about 7 million or so, 8 million. For 10 million or so who may be taking part. So we'll see.
Okay.
And of course, on the Guyanese side, President Ifanali and Vice President Dr. Barajagdio both making some strong statements as monitoring the Kaita news all weekend long on the coast. And Venezuela has a camp with about 35 soldiers, but they could get more. 35 soldiers by with a big Venezuelan flag, and a lot of forces, when he suggests, not necessarily native to Guyana, on the Guyanese side. Okay? Because Guyana has a lot of international support, including the US. You understand? So I think, given the US's history with Guyana, with Venezuela, they're just waiting for something to move in. One soldier on the ground in Guyana will have confusion.
You know, I think at the end of the day, certainly the two nations stand to benefit somewhere along the line with oil prices. At the end of the day, this might just be a big hoax,
Not necessarily. I don't think
No
so.
country wants war.
That's not how oil prices work. Nobody wants
No
war.
country wants that kind of country.
Exxon and
You want that kind of
Chevron are going to go
country
through
that
that.
hit you because it affects you economically.
But I think the grand charge is the war.
Investments will pause, and you don't really want that.
I think the grand charge in a war. That's me. I may be wrong. I may be wrong.
Yeah. Well, this is not a new issue, so
no, it's a decades old. It's true. It's probably centuries.
Mm-hmm.
You know, mankind and borders went on no border when they just defeat to draw a line that crooked, and you don't know how they then end up turning here and turning there and turning here and turning there and say that's my land.
Mm-hmm.
Where there?
Yeah.
Karen is asking if I would invest in buying a property in Venezuela. I think I have property in Venezuela, you know, I just can't claim it. My abuelo is part of Venezuela. My grandfather is from Venezuela. His name is Paul Isidros Ramos. And came to Trinidad.
Richard have property too.
And came to Trinidad and married a beautiful black woman. And his father tell me like that. So he tell his father I will change my name from Ramos to Richards.
Well, look at that. Richard, what's your story? What's your Venezuelan story?
I have no Venezuelan story. I have Venezuelan family. But I mean, I don't have a story like that. But I have a Venezuelan family. Even though some of them have now moved to Panama.
I have a little Spanish with me, and I've been in a little Spanish now and then.
A confession on national radio. I hope everybody heard that.
But you know, there's a part of Venezuela that also claims Trinidad.
Yes, over the centuries, yes. It's raised up ever so often that Trinidad belongs
every now and then it raises up, and they say that Trinidad actually belongs to Venezuela.
Yeah,
before the land falling by the brokers there.
I've heard that because they used to get on really bad out on the high seas at one point in time.
They still get on bad on the high seas, just behave now because they want to make the maxi taxi pass easy.
Yeah.
The maxi taxi with a propeller.
Yeah. You could have come
because of the maxi taxi. Don't stop nobody. What else is happening in the country? I see a very interesting development. And I didn't read the whole story to be honest, but something about former AG Ram Logan and former MP Ramdeen or Senator Ramdeen, and the government seeking, or the state, when they say the government, that's a wrong statement. The state looking to go after them for something or the other, and Mr. Ramdeen responded by saying it's another witch hunt and he'll win and he'll donate the money to charity. What's that about?
I didn't read that. I saw the byline and I didn't read it. I tired.
Yeah, and that was a general sentiment when online.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how many times have you heard this? And I'm not saying the state is not supposed to pursue justice, whatever that means.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, most people are saying, and they're both still under charges. Is that not so?
Yes. Yes.
So I don't understand how it played up again, because the judicial process is the judicial process and has nothing to do with the government. Am I wrong, Richard?
Oh, sorry, I got distracted.
The state is pursuing.
Yeah, go on. The state is what?
The state is pursuing the legal actions against Mr. Ramdeen and Mr. Ram Logan, senior counsel, and that has nothing to do with the government. You understand? But it should have nothing to do with the government, as far as I can imagine, because it's now in the hands of the courts.
And God forbid the government changes after the next election. You'll be calling the two of them ministers something, you know.
Well, Anand Ram Logan had already left as Attorney General, not so? The last time they went power.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Somebody said, I thought about it. The AG is the one to pursue civil matters. So I guess that's where the government comes in.
Mm-hmm.
But are they civil matters?
Well, it wasn't civil matters
In criminal.
initially. But I think the case fell through. Didn't the case fall through or something like that? I can't remember exactly the circumstances.
I can't remember. I think it's criminal matters, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think didn't it fall through that it didn't have the court threw it out or something like that? Or am I imagining that?
Because of the DPP discontinued in one case.
Right, discontinued the case.
Yeah, but they still have other matters. They still have other matters they're dealing with. So Terence is saying the matters are civil.
Yeah, the matters are civil. Okay, but then in that case, the AG does have a part to play, a significant part to play. So, right? Yes, I remember that the DPP discontinued, so it's now a civil matter. So the government does have a play, right? We will see how it goes. I just found it strange that it was a new story again, but it was an ongoing case, so I didn't understand. But I didn't, when you get fed up, you don't read anymore. Minister of Planning and Development, Penelope Beckles, is at COP28. A lot of focus has been placed on early warning systems. She said, the minister, that is, they're effective but costly. I think
early warning systems for what though?
For natural disasters, for tsunamis, for hurricanes, that kind of stuff. Because COP is the climate change conference in Dubai.
Okay.
I think it is costly, but the cost of not having them is even more.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yes.
Not having early warning system will cost you much money long term.
Yeah.
But Karen, you're right. If we can't get CCTV cameras to work all the time, forget early warning systems in this country.
But I've seen some new cameras gone up. There's one, I can tell you, right at the very top of the PBR, the extended part of the PBR, by that Wassa station there. When you pass Omera, where the PBR ends, and you continue heading east, all the way up to the Wassa pumping station. It's past the bus station, and it's past the Wassa. It's on the edge by the Wassa pumping station. There are brand new cameras up right there at that corner. About 3 new cameras put up there recently. So if you come in from the east, you enter the PBR from up. Well, Richard would probably enter from Omera. Most people enter from Omera, but because of how far up I am, I enter from all the way up there by Malabar. And there are some brand new cameras up there. You figuring it out where we're talking about?
Yeah.
Well, that's actually like the beginning of the bus route you're talking about.
Well, it's not officially the beginning, eh? The beginning is from O'Meara Road.
No, but for all intents and purposes, that's the eastern beginning of the bus route.
Right, but I'm not
Yeah,
sure
many
if it
people
qualifies.
mean there. That's just close to the church and the school right there.
Right there, right there,
Yeah.
right there, right on that corner there. It was very obvious that they were brand new cameras put up there.
They had never had cameras there before.
No, I've never seen cameras there before. That's why I said it was obvious when I saw them.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what they're capturing because that area is generally dark too. But a lot of people use that particular area to walk on a morning, walk their dogs, whatever. You see a lot of people in that area.
President of the Law Association. Go ahead.
I just have a couple birthday greetings. Sekou Long Kujufi, Barbara Jenkins, you all will know. That was a old teacher in St. James Seka and Fatima. She taught geography. Wonderful lady. She writes books now. Joycelyn Williams, Jennifer Mohammed, Lisa David, Carlene Steele, and Simon Charles, all celebrating birthday today. Christiana Sherry Lewis also too, celebrating their birthday today. Happy birthday. Lots of birthdays in December. I had a friend, Alison Mason Barton. She celebrated, I think, yesterday. So belated birthday greetings. And to anyone else who would have celebrated birthdays, all right, around this particular time. I know it's tough because people just hold on to your gift and say, all right, that's for your birthday and your Christmas. I know it's a tough time, but that's what happens for December.
Richard, did you go to the Law Association dinner this weekend?
Nope.
You're antisocial as your colleagues.
Yeah, boy, he is.
I haven't been to that in years. It's an annual thing.
Well, the first time they had it since COVID, but so they had a big do and they honored some of the stalwarts in law. Most of them seen, if all of them seen accounts, if I remember correctly. Sorry?
Did they honor Ram Logan?
So it's 6:33. And the president of the Law Association, Mrs. Sebron Sweet, in an interview over the weekend, indicated that she thought that when attorneys have been found involved in allegedly egregious action, they should be suspended pending the outcome of the matters.
She said that?
Yeah.
Wow. Because that's a call that has been made many times.
She said she was not speaking on behalf of the Law Association. It was her personal view. But that is what she said.
Well, that will be very interesting. That will be very interesting.
And I mean suspended from practice, eh?
Suspended from practice?
Yeah.
Because that is a call that has been made on the Law Association for many years, over the years.
What do you think, Richard? Is it in keeping with presumed innocent until proven guilty?
Well, it would be controversial because, like anything else, there's not much that all attorneys agree on. So I am sure that not all attorneys are going to agree on that position.
My God.
Go Steve, your belly, man, be yourself, no, man.
Well, I'm your background, Paul.
Watch this. Watch this.
It suddenly became a horror story.
It's a horror story.
Oh God, you all be ready to read some of that article about that man who, well...
The man who went missing?
We have to say who allegedly went missing.
Read it now.
Of that story. It is,
read it, Richard. I think you're the ideal person to read that story.
I don't know how it is so strange.
No, nothing strange about that.
And it took place in Arima, I think. Wasn't it Arima? Yeah, it's Arima.
I didn't hear about it, so share it with us now.
You found it?
Yeah.
Read it now. Missing man not lost.
Yeah, but missing man says he's not missing and has no desire to return home. Says he left his wife to find peace of mind. Maureen Villarreal spent 57 relentless days searching for her common law husband. I prefer to, I don't know if this is an abbreviation of the story.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know if you have a thing with the full story,
All right,
Wendell.
let me read it then.
Yeah, because
Maureen, Maureen Villarreal spent 57 relentless days searching for her common law husband, Leon Simongal, who went to the bank to cash a $73,500 lump sum pension check and then mysteriously disappeared. In Villarreal's quest to find Simongal, she knocked on every neighbor's door in her Arima community, um, called friends and family, turned to the Hunters Search and Rescue Team for help, and also made a missing persons report at 2 police stations. Refusing to give up, she traveled to the far-flung community of Blanchisseuse, where she believed Simongal, a jack of all trades, had been held captive against his will in a hut for his big money. However, after 6 Arima CID officers investigated Villarreal's report on Monday, police found Simongal living comfortably in a furnished apartment. Their investigations brought closure to Villarreal's persistent hunt for Simongal, who told police he had ended the 20-year relationship with Villarreal and had no desire to return home. Simongal told the investigators that he was safe and living comfortably in an apartment he had
okay,
furnished.
you read it right. That's an abbreviated version because where you just ended there, Villarreal was shattered and left in denial after the man she loved dearly rejected her. Um, on Monday, Villarreal went to a social worker for help, claiming she was going around in circles looking for Simangal and wanted the media to publish his disappearance. This reporter was contacted and met Villarreal outside the Arima police station, where she related the story about her 2 months of persistent searching for Simangal and the police's unwillingness to help. On September 30th, Villarreal said Simangal collected a lump sum pension check of $73,500 at TT Post and went with a villager to cash it at First Citizens Bank in Arima on October 2nd, but never returned home, while repeated calls to his cell phone went unanswered. She told the newspaper that neighbors, family, and friends of Simangal had not seen or heard from him. She insisted that the villager who transported Simangal had been eyeing Simangal's money and felt something had happened to him. This worried Villarreal to no end. Deep down in her heart, Villarreal had one feeling. I thought he had been kidnapped for his money and was being ill-treated, the mother of 3 admitted. I didn't go with him to the bank because that same day I had to do eye surgery at the Arima hospital, Villarreal began explaining. Leon had plans for his money. He wanted to buy a vehicle and remove the cataract from his right eye. Villarreal and Simangal have no children together. 2 days after Simangal's strange disappearance, Villarreal said her curiosity peaked when her home was broken into and 3 weed whackers and Simangal's passport was stolen. Then she began seeking help to find him. First, she sought assistance from the Hunters Search and Rescue Team, who in turn passed on the information to the the anti-kidnapping unit. On November 4th, she made a report at the Arima Municipal Police Station, where officers advised her to lodge a missing persons report at the Arima Police Station, which she did on November 7th. But this was not documented on the police's end. Instead, 2 officers visited the villager's home and questioned him about Simangal's whereabouts. He told the police he don't know where Leon was, Villarreal said. The police, she said, never pursued her report further
I was left feeling helpless and hopeless. After weeks of no feedback, on November 22nd, Villarreal hired a taxi and went to Blanchisseuse, a community Simangal had frequented with the villager to get produce on a farm. Behind the farm, she noticed a newly built hut, which led her to believe that Simangal was staying there against his will. After showing residents a snapshot of Simangal's ID card, Viral said one woman said his face looked familiar. If I had backup, I would have checked the inside of the hut, she said.
Great storytelling, Richard.
Eventually, Villarreal aborted her probing. Unable to eat and sleep, Villarreal thought the worst that happened to Simangal. After weeks of not hearing from him, I say, well, they kill him. Then she got an unexpected telephone call from Simangal on Sunday. He was crying and saying he wanted help. He was talking hoarse, sounding weak. That call left Villarreal in tears. I kept wondering if he was getting medication for his high blood pressure and diabetes. Leon was sounding so down. He made tears come out my eyes. I feel hurt because he was calling for help and I couldn't help him. Before Villarreal could ask Simangal where he was, she said a woman grabbed the phone and told her he was not coming back home. Villarreal said she recognized the woman's voice to be another resident in her community. She said people in the area where they live saw two villagers buying appliances and furniture. Villarreal concluded that the villagers were using Simangal's bank card to purchase the items to furnish the hut. To be continued.
Well, that was a fantastic narration, Richard. The only thing you're missing at the start is once upon a time.
It actually happened.
You understand?
This one is actually happening.
But that is a story. When I read that story on Sunday, I was like, but what the hell?
So just to be reported, I like the fact that not everything has to be about murder and gore.
True, eh?
It's quite entertaining. Yeah. Is a news story for a community news story? So or robbery or the government or the opposition. Not everything has to be about that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, 6:43, 17 moving up to 7. Do you have newspapers, Ragabasing? Clearly you do.
I certainly do.
Can you share with us, please?
Of course I can. So I can start with the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian. Of course, today is Monday, December 4th. For those of you who didn't know because you're so busy painting and power washing and cleaning and ransacking your whole house inside out. Today is Monday, December 4th.
I and all get caught up with that power washing thing.
Yeah, you have 21 more days. 20 more days before Christmas Eve. The headline, divided. Venezuelans split on Essequibo referendum. Country's AG praises voting process as easy and transparent. And Maduro, first time in 150 years of fighting for what is ours. So that's the main picture. And there is a corresponding, but there's a picture of inset photo of Maduro. And then there's a picture of Irfan Ali with a bunch at the launch of a shade house project under his agriculture ministry. But there's a picture of Irfan Ali in Ghana. And then the next subheadline on the front page, Deputy Mayor promises more security in Port of Spain for Christmas, and Ministry and TTADA warn of foreign used car racket. All of that is on the front page. And on the back page, Hope delivers captain's knock as Windies beat England by 4 wickets. And that's it for the front and the back of the Guardian. Moving along to the Trinidad and Tobago Express. Prayers for peace is the headline that the Express went with. While Venezuelans vote on whether to take possession of Essequibo, Ghanaians hold solidarity rallies. Prayers for peace. There's also a picture of Maduro, and there's a picture of course, one of the rallies in Ghana. Cabo Star, grounded for 16 days. So that's not going to be helpful to Tobago in this Christmas season. But that's on one of the sub headlines. On the back page, masterclass. Hopeton anchors West Indies chase as hosts England in first ODI. Moving on to the newsday for today. On the front page, what did they go with? HIV/AIDS advocate calls for government policy change. Make HIV drug available. That's the headline on the newsday this morning. And the main picture is members. What is it? It's members
You
of
mean
the
make it available over the counter?
I don't know. I didn't read the story, but is urging government to change its policy and make pre-exposure, PrEP, a drug used to prevent people from contracting AIDS more easily and readily available for the general public. I know before, I know Kaiso Head, who died. What's his name again?
Colin Robinson.
Colin Robinson. He was very critical of the Minister of Health with regard to not allowing PrEP to be available because it's a preventative measure against HIV and AIDS. And he was resistant. I think the Minister of Health said it would make people more promiscuous. And of course, Colin Robinson was ridiculous. He was very adamant about that position before he died. And the main picture is that of members of the fire services pan side enjoyed themselves as they competed in the Pan Trinbago Panorama Single Pan finals on Sunday evening at the Queen's Park, Savannah.
That is why there was all that traffic yesterday, and now realize why. Wow.
Yeah. Ferguson ordered to go to Miami court. All of that is on the front page. And on the back page, Hope urges belief after winning century in first ODI. We can chase anything. And rugby boss ready for bumper 2024. That's it for our 3 dailies this morning.
Ebony Jewel Star said something there that reminded me of the Parang story. Remember? She said every Christmas we just get a national bacchanal with a couple. Remember the Parang story when they say a woman was kidnapped and she really went paranging with some other man?
I remember that.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Was around this time too. I can't remember the exact details, but she claimed she was kidnapped, or somebody claimed she was kidnapped, and she was out paranging with some man. And they show you CCTV when she paranging, going in the bar with the man.
Yes.
As long as it don't end in murder and mayhem, we good with it. Let the bacchanal flow.
All right. Well, gentlemen, we'll get into the results of our morning poll. Let's say good morning going out to Julie Mango, Maria Celia, Dennis Bassard, Cheryl Seeley, Rena Budu Jennings, Boy Bedesi, Yazid Mohammed, good morning to you. Karen Yipnow, Siobhan Wilson, Mrs. R, Miss Ingrid in Tucson, Arizona, Curtis Henderson, good morning. Terrence Brown, Ian R. Joseph, Slick Money Grip, CPT Singh, Brenda Isaac, good morning to you all. Arno, good morning. And that's Anthony Tinto, good morning out in Canada. Ebony Jewel Star, Trinity in Boston, Vaughn Drayton, good morning to you. Sankofa on WhatsApp, Sunny San Fernando, Dan Raj, good morning to you all. Let's get the results of our morning poll from Friday, where we asked you, do you agree that the legal age to smoke marijuana and to gamble in Trinidad and Tobago be raised from 18 to 25? That was our poll on Friday. The results are in. 89% said yes.
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 Wow.
So this is my suggested question this morning.
Go ahead, boss.
Senior moment.
All right. I'm cool with that because it's something that I say that has cropped up from time to time. Do you agree that the attorneys that attorneys who are charged for criminal acts be suspended from practicing until their matters are resolved? Yes or no? That's our question this morning.
So
We're
it's not
dealing with
just
law.
accused or alleged if they've been charged,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've
right?
been charged. Yeah.
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 222 talk.
And our most
2228255.
he has disappeared. Where is he?
Mm-hmm. Toll-free
And
North
I have the
Americans.
content copy disappear. You realize that, right?
Yeah.
What's that?
North Americans, you have a toll-free number,
Copy disappear.
866-525-1099 via WhatsApp at 3181021. Of course, call us, message us on Facebook and on YouTube. Wayne B says yes. Kazim Mohammed says yes. CJ from New York says yes. Gregory Bauer, yes. Richard Duku, yes. Rena Boodoo Jennings, yes. Boy Bedesi, yes. Do you agree that attorneys who are charged with criminal acts be suspended from practicing until their matters are resolved? All right. Jean Clark says yes. Mrs. R says yes.
Steve, I had a whole weekend, a whole Saturday afternoon vacation for I spent the entire Saturday afternoon at our alma mater, Hillview.
How did that go?
Very well. I mean, last time the acting principal, Sean Ramdi, it was so wonderful to us. We had the second public consultation on disability
yes.
law.
That was yes on Saturday.
Very, very well attended.
Wow.
Does Sylvia have a college song?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Okay.
Being one of the best, if not the best.
It is one of the best. I don't know about St. Mary's.
They all have college songs.
Of course, America has a college song.
Really?
I mean, I can't hear that. I know Hillview's college song. But
We have a call. Good morning.
We have lots of votes, Yon Mister.
Yeah, no. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning, Zena.
Good morning, my dear Paul.
Good morning, love.
all of you. Listen, my yes is so emphatic is a shame. Yes.
All right.
Okay. Got
Thank
it.
you. Let's see. We have Carol Guevara saying yes. Julia S. Batiste, yes. Karen Yipnow says yes. Guy Small says yes. Ms.
No. Guy Small says no.
Sorry, Guy Small says no. Sorry. Ms. Maloney says yes.
Karen, Hillview wins academic intercourse, my friend.
There you go. Slick Money Grip says yes. Miss Grid says yes. Anthony Tinto, yes.
Yeah, she used to win some tennis matches and volleyball matches long time.
Yeah. On
Sorry,
WhatsApp, DL says yes. Dan Raj, I don't know what that is. Cascade St. Anne says yes. Oliver says yes.
As I
All
said,
right.
this has been
Do
a
you
call
agree?
for a long.
Now, do you agree that attorneys who are charged for criminal acts be suspended from practicing until their matters are resolved? Yes or no? All right, 222-8255, toll-free number for North Americans, 866-525-1099. Miss Bonner West says, good morning, gentlemen. Yes to the poll. Steve Dans and Richard storytelling. Thank you for the laughter. Okay. Sonny San Fernando says yes to the poll.
Kenny in Harlem also says yes.
Yep. All right. Do you agree that attorneys who are charged for criminal acts be suspended from practicing until their matters are resolved? Yes or no?
Coming up after the 7 o'clock news, we're talking reparations with former Senator Tahaka Obika and Dr. June Soma, who is a UN Permanent Forum for People of African Descent member, and we will find out about what CARICOM's 10-point plan for reparation involves.
Mm-hmm. All right. Donna Leeling says yes. Ish out in Malik says yes.
I think we get somebody to make our show posters first. You know that, right?
Sorry?
Somebody can make we get somebody to make great posters to promote the shows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get the hacker.
We should hire Tahaka.
Yeah.
Tell you.
Nemesis says no. Maraval on the road says hell yes. All right. 222-8255 toll free North Americans 866-525-1099. Miss Samson says yes.
You read what Anand said? Did you read?
Yeah.
So a friend of mine had a rejected pensioner predator jump his wall and use his garden hose to wet his bed and belongings. Well, you feel senior citizens easy? All right, so yesterday.
Miss Ingrid says yes to the poll.
Alan Reese says no.
San Fernando says yes to the poll.
You got Alan Reese, Richard?
Yeah, Alan Reese says
Alan
no.
Reese
I
says
got it.
no. All right. You have 2 minutes again to vote.
Steve, do you have the clips?
Yeah. I just need the order.
Today I'm going to this young man's funeral. Well, he wasn't young, but this man's funeral. Clyde, the outlaw Gemma.
Oh, that's today? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I lost a colleague over the weekend too. He died of a heart attack. He served in the Trinidad and Tobago Army here, and then he lived abroad for a long time. Curtis Dookie was his name, originally from St. James. He passed away over the weekend also. And Edward Cow, also from St. James, also passed away over the weekend. So the three actually, and Clyde Gemot, all three went St. James Government Secondary School.
Wow. And a former colleague, Terry Ann Abdul, got married over the weekend. So congratulations to you both.
What's his strange juxtaposition?
Yes, I was wondering, you know.
Oh my God.
I was wondering.
After me,
Oh, marriage
question
slipping there among funerals.
And then he said, in addition to that, we have some good news. A cut. Oh, God, Steve. Jeez. Wow.
Matthew Rock says yes. Matthew Rock says yes.
Steve, I finally saw your signs and your place in Sikoro.
Oh, you finally passed?
No, but your sign on the road itself too small.
Well, I can't do anything about that one. Yeah,
right.
That is,
but not talking about the sign, you know, Steve. The sign of the butler sign.
Yeah, on the road itself.
Too small. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can't do nothing about that. That's the measurements we had. So
the sign on the building is great, but I almost missed the sign on the pavement.
It's a bit small. It's 2x4, so
don't be so hard on yourself, Steve. We're talking about the sign.
You know me, I want it a little bigger. Let me say good morning, good night to my good friend Indy, and to all those at the airport authority. I actually got my tour of Piaco's radar room and control tower on Friday. That is really a state-of-the-art facility, boy.
No, you need to do. I did Newark control tower already in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how they do that job, but they are well paid. But it's one of the jobs with the top 10 most anxious jobs, stress jobs in the world.
Yeah.
What they call them?
Yeah, traffic controllers.
Yeah, traffic
control system. Well, they have radars and they have this and they have that. And
there's a woman
I was in my glee. Thank you so much, Indy, for organizing that. Thank you so much. I was in my glee. A nice 2-hour tour. Security, oh boy.
There's a woman I know only too well who does that. She's Annette Stephen is her name. She is out at
Paul, I have to come and see you.
What is that? What did you just mumble there?
Something with the news. Steve.
Nemesis is saying we are asking a broad question because domestic abuse can be
Didn't get the story.
criminal act and have nothing to do with LOA. I'm not sure what that means. Is he because it's once on we asked it we asked it relative to attorneys nemesis. So if an attorney is charged with domestic abuse and it's a criminal act, well then yes. You guys have gone silent. I don't know if it's me or you.
No, I think Paul is getting ready to do the news.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So he moved into news mode.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, is that the time? Oh, yes, it is. So, Paul, you take it away. Ready to go.
No, they don't do news on camera.
Oh, of course they do.
All right. Well, let's get into our news, gentlemen. My headphone just fell off. Right. Okay, let's get into our news. Pablo, here we go.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
It is Monday, 4th December 2023. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. This is news to 7 a.m. on News Power Digital. First, the headlines. Venezuelans await the results of Sunday's referendum on disputed territory with Guyana. President Irfan Ali assures Guyanese there's nothing to fear in the coming days from Venezuela's referendum. The Trade Ministry warns of fraud when importing or buying foreign used vehicles. And the West Indies beat England by 4 wickets in a one-day international series opener against England in Antigua. We have details coming up next. This is news to 7 a.m. on News Power Digital. Good morning. We start with news in the region in an exclusive interview with the British Broadcasting Corporation, the BBC, on Sunday. Guyana's President Irfan Ali, addressing the border controversy with Venezuela, says that while Guyana has intensely focused on diplomacy and the maintenance of peace, the country remains on high alert. The long-standing border controversy between Guyana and Venezuela revolves around Guyana's claim to a significant portion of Venezuela's claim to a significant portion of Guyana, which includes the entire Essequibo region and its offshore exclusive economic zone. Expressing serious concerns about Venezuela's rhetoric and behavior, President Ali highlighted the need to take President Nicolas Maduro's statement seriously. He emphasized the potential consequences of reckless behavior and adventurous rhetoric calling for a peaceful resolution through international legal mechanisms. He said, quote, "The rhetoric out of Venezuela and the behavior and attitude of the president and vice president necessitates serious concerns. We cannot be caught wanting. As president of Guyana, we have to take everything that the president and the military say very seriously, and their rhetoric has not been an encouraging one," the Guyanese leader asserted. Acknowledging the importance of being alert and prepared, President Ali revealed Guyana maintains a high state of military readiness. However, he emphasized that diplomacy remains the first line of defense, with Guyana mobilizing global support. Moreover, President Ali expressed gratitude for the backing received from the international community. He assured the government will spare no effort in protecting Guyana's territory and its people. Meanwhile, Venezuelans are awaiting the results of Sunday's referendum backed by President Nicolas Maduro's government over the Essequibo region's oil-rich territory that's been the subject of the long-running dispute. The 5-question referendum includes a question rejecting the International Court of Justice jurisdiction to decide to which the territory around the Essequibo River belongs. The vote took place across 11,122 voting centers across the country. DW News is following the story.
All the organizations in the Islamic community, the GIT, the CIOG, the MYO, all the organizations in this country.
On Friday, the International Court of Justice responded to a request from Guyana to halt the referendum, ordering Venezuela to refrain from taking any action that would alter the status quo without expressly forbidding the vote. Both countries hailed the ruling as backing their positions. Guyana's President Irfan Ali assures the Guyanese people there is nothing to fear in the coming days from Venezuela's referendum on Sunday. Speaking during a day of awareness and prayer held at the Muslim Youth Organization, Dr. Ali assured the level of coverage on the matter was not a sign that there was any imminent danger.
All the organizations in the Islamic community, the GIT, the CIOG, the MYO, all the organizations in this country has consistently spoken out on terrorism, because terrorism has no place in Islam. Terrorism has absolutely no place in Islam. The narrative coming out of Venezuela is aimed at creating terror in your heart, creating fear in your heart. That is the purpose of the narrative. Do not succumb.
He said it indicated the government had been doing a lot of work to mobilize international support.
Our training with the U.S., our defense cooperation with the U.S. and other partners, this is not hiding anything. We have a defense cooperation with the U.S. and many other partners, and that cooperation is to ensure that we are prepared. We are not naive people.
Dr. Ali also spoke directly to the citizens of Venezuela, adding he was not getting into the internal politics of Venezuela or its policy making, but added this is an opportunity for them to show maturity and responsibility.
A few moments ago, I was engaging a member of the international media, and he asked, "What do you fear of Venezuela and Maduro?" And I said, I fear nothing about Maduro or of Venezuela. But I have some concerns, and my concerns are around the subject of humanity.
Back in TNT News now, the trade license unit of the Ministry of Trade and Industry is advising the public to be vigilant and get familiar with all the requirements and procedures to import or purchase a foreign use vehicle. The advice comes amid concerns of an upsurge in the number of reported cases of members of the public being defrauded of their monies while attempting to obtain foreign use vehicles. While members of the public are allowed to import foreign vehicles for their personal and or commercial use, the ministry recommends persons utilize as far as possible the services of a registered foreign use car dealer, as such entities have undergone strict compliance requirements and are actively monitored by the trade license unit. Meanwhile, to assist in making informed decisions that can help avoid fraud risks and purchasing used vehicles from a registered foreign use car dealer, persons are asked to observe the following guidelines. They include ensuring the dealer is registered with the Ministry of Trade and Industry, know the warranty details, inquire about the details of automotive after-sales service, including repair and maintenance, be aware that you can only import one vehicle within a 4-year period, ensure the vehicle meets the country's permissible import age, and you can get more information on the website of the Ministry of Trade and Industry. Minister of Planning and Development Penelope Beckles at COP28 says early warning systems are effective but costly. COP28 continued in Dubai at the Canada Pavilion. One of the discussion sessions focused on the theme, leaving no one behind, collaborating to scale up early warning for all by 2027. Minister Beckles cautioned that early systems were effective, but come with complexities and costs. A new UN report released yesterday found that 101 countries now have some sort of early warning system in place, up 6 from last year, and double the number from 2015. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres introduced the Early Warnings for All initiative in 2022, the vision to establish an effective early warning system for every person on Earth by the end of 2027. On now to news of the region. Once again, Prime Minister Barbados Mia Mottley is calling for policies to be adopted to help mitigate global temperature increases in order to avoid the loss of human lives. Prime Minister Mottley made the appeal while speaking at the UN Climate Change Conference in Dubai over the weekend.
Where is it going to be found for the progress to be made and to avoid the tipping point? We need oil and gas companies to agree to fix the leaks in their pipelines and to ensure that they also stop the flaring. We need to make sure that waste management practices as well as farming practices are changed in order to be able to control the level of methane that the world is seeing. The science must be simple. To turn down the heat, you simply have to turn down the methane. And until we accept that, we will go over a tipping point.
Meanwhile, Bahamas Prime Minister Philip Davis cited the need for urgent global action to deal with the impact of climate change. Davies said that while he was grateful the record high temperatures experienced earlier in the year in the country did not translate into catastrophic hurricane season, tropical storm and depression still hit the archipelago. On now to news of sport, the West Indies team will go into a second one-day international against England on Wednesday. With a 1-0 lead in the three-match series, the Caribbean side won the first ODI against the visitors by 4 wickets at the Sir Vivian Richards Cricket Stadium in Antigua on Sunday. Set 326 to win, the regional side reached 326 for 6 in 48.5 overs. Captain Shai Hope led the batting with 109 not out on his 16th ODI century. Opener Alec Athanasis supported with 66 runs. Romario Shepherd also chimed in with 48. Earlier, England made 325 all out, with Harry Brooks top scoring on 71 runs. Zach Crawley made 48 and Phil Salt 45. Finally, the World Health Organization says untreated disease could eventually kill more people in Gaza than bombings if the health system is not restored. Diarrhea and respiratory infections are widespread among children in overcrowded UN facilities where almost 1.1 million people are sheltering. Patients with chronic illnesses, including cancer, also receiving no treatment. Gaza's Hamas-run government says more than 14,800 people have been killed in the territory since the war began. To end the news to 7 here are the headlines. Once again, Venezuela awaits the results of Sunday's referendum on disputed territory with Guyana. Guyana's President Irfan Ali assures Guyanese there's nothing to fear in the coming days from Venezuela's referendum. The Trade Ministry warns of fraud when importing or buying foreign used vehicles. And the West Indies beat England by 4 wickets in the first one-day international series opener in Antigua. That is news to 7 a.m. right here on News Power Digital. We'll have more news coming up, headline news at 8 a.m. and major news at 12 noon. For more details, log on to power102fm.com.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All right. Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you so much, Paul. For our 7 o'clock news, I tell you, I tried to really log on, couldn't even do it good. You tried at least. You'll get an effort for that. All right. Quickly, it is 24 degrees at Piarco International Airport, 25 at Crown Point in Tobago. And the Met Office is saying fair periods with some partly cloudy intervals with light to moderate showers in confined areas. There's a low chance of the heavy shower or thunderstorm favoring southern areas. All right, that's weather forecast. Quickly, let's take a look at what's happening on the highways and byways before we get the results. It is the last week of the school holiday, last week of school, and then the Christmas holiday starts. And traffic should be lighter. Halfway down this Valencia stretch, you got some volume. Trin City towards UE, Valsain, the Port of Spain, County Roundabout towards Curep. And you got some traffic again. Pretty much after Road is where you're going to pick up your traffic as you head towards the interchange. Rivulet Road heading to Couva is not too bad. Got some volume leaving San Fernando heading to Couva. Seeing one accident. It is, I don't know, it's saying both south and northbound. But it is in the vicinity of Gasparillo. All right. So there you go. All right, let's get the results of our morning poll, and I'm sure our guests would be on. Do I have any more votes here?
I just chuckled when you said traffic will be lighter, but say what?
Yeah.
Anyway, our question.
Not anymore. Not after 10 o'clock for sure.
Not about my gain. Anyway, our question this morning was, do you agree that attorneys who are charged for criminal acts be suspended from practicing until their matters are resolved? We had quite a healthy voting population this morning. 33 said yes, 3 said no. 33 of our pollsters said yes, they should be suspended.
Yeah.
And 3 said no.
All right. I got okay, we got that already. Okay,
silence.
wonderful. All right.
Yeah, look at that nice Ghanaian top. You must know when people have connections in Ghana. Paul, watch it.
Tahako Bika, good morning. We have a job for you.
Good morning. Good morning.
Morning. We have a job for you. You are now, you've been elected, designated to make our morning show posters every morning.
And don't forget, you have to include the guests in the picture.
Yes.
And put the post on them small down below.
So I'll message you or guess the next day and you'll make the posters and send it back.
Is now that I'm no longer a representative of any kind. I'm not sitting in any house. Does this assignment come with any remuneration? Or we'll talk about
yeah. No. At the end of the week, you'll get 3 doubles. Everything is slight pepper. I'm just saying.
But I hear you used to write policy documents without remuneration anyway. So what's your point?
you know when he's being mischievous, he's rattling off his words.
There's a saying that. Well, I mean, I just felt that it was a good thing to let people know, because everyone knows who you all are. You all are very popular. You know what? A little known person like myself, I needed to use some of your clout. So that's why I use your images. I mean,
I shared it. I shared it widely.
Has a long CV, but mine is shorter.
My status is heavily followed, so I shared it. So a lot of people are logging onto it just because they see your your big picture. And
I have to admit, when you sent it, I thought Dr. Stuma was Minister Alison West for a minute.
I thought so too.
So we have many
she looked a lot like like Minister
friends.
Alison West.
Anyway, good morning. Thank you for joining us. I haven't seen your colleague log on yet, but when she logs on, I'll certainly add it to the feed.
Mm-hmm.
I believe she has actually logged on, so that she's in the waiting room. Unless maybe
really?
Let me give you. Let me send you her number so that you can contact her directly.
No, but I'm not seeing her. So is she on a Chrome browser?
I'm not sure. So let me just send you her contact so that she can be contacted directly.
Yeah.
Because I have everyone else.
Can get onto her.
I am the technical person.
I just sent it to you. I'll send it to Steve Penn as well.
Okay. All right. So let's begin then. We're talking reparations, and it's a topic that has gained a lot of attention and momentum over the last 15 or so years, 10 or so years since the UN International Year of Persons of African Descent. It's picked up a lot of momentum since then. Where would you say it is now in the Caribbean in terms of discussion and narrative?
Well, I want to say that first again, good morning to you and to panel, and of course to all your viewers and listeners on Power 2. Basically, reparations in the Caribbean, from a Caribbean context, the Caribbean is actually in the vanguard of reparations. The call for reparations, and as well conceptualizing what reparations should detail. Basically, if you just excuse me, I just want to send your contact so that she can reach out to you. So basically, the recently concluded Accra Reparations Conference in Ghana highlighted that to the extent where the countries on the continent that are represented gave the Caribbean pride of place with respect to sharing our reparations agenda. And Trinidad and Tobago has always been one of the strongest voices with respect to the call for healing, all right, in terms of the African and the global stage. The first Pan-African Congress in the last century was convened by a Trinbagonian, Henry Sylvester Williams. He would have been in London, I believe, at the time. That is at the turn of the century. Then Kwame Nkrumah, who is hailed as one of the greatest Pan-Africanists of all time, his advisor on African affairs was another Trinidad and Tobago citizen, George Padmore. You understand? And of course, we all know that CLR James as would have been influential in a lot of liberation movements on the continent. I stand to be corrected, but I believe even in Algeria as well. He's renowned to have contributed. So the Caribbean has always been at the forefront, whether it's Marcus Garvey, whether it's Bob Marley, and today, of course, the Caribbean has a celebrity in the person of Miamo Motley, the Prime Minister of Barbados. Okay, so the Caribbean is at the forefront, and Prime Minister Motley is, I believe, the chair of the reparations at the prime ministerial, the heads of government level in CARICOM. And at the conference in Accra, which was held in mid-November last month, the CARICOM General Secretary gave an address, as well as Mia Amo Motley presented. From Trinidad and Tobago, our chair of the reparations committee, Dr. Claudius Fergus, a renowned historian at the University of the West Indies in St. Augustine, he would have been a panelist alongside, we all know, Elder Kafra Cambon of the Emancipation Support Committee. But Elder Cambon was invited by the African Union. So such is the position of the Caribbean and of Trinidad and Tobago with respect to the reparations movement. Dr. June Soma, who happens to be in Trinidad at this time, briefly, she would have served, she would have been a panelist, but she would have served as the Secretary General of the Association of Caribbean States, which is headquartered in Port-au-Spain, as we know. And she's currently on the UN Permanent Forum for Persons of African Descent. So the reality is, and she's a St. Lucian national.
But let's welcome her. She's on the Let's welcome her.
So she's here. I will allow her to present her case. Yeah. But I'm introducing her as well to the country, because I felt it necessary, Dr. Richards, Senator Dr. Richards, as I reached out to you, that the question of reparations, when it is raised, people always ask one question: how much we getting? You think you will get that? And it isn't as simple or linear issue as that. So you ask the question: where is the Caribbean in this? The CARICOM has detailed a 10-point plan.
Put a pause. Let's just officially welcome Dr. Suma. Dr. Suma, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for your kind invitation.
We appreciate you being with us this morning. It's a pleasure to have you. Now, before you continue, Tahaka, I had the honor to attend two symposia in London earlier this year on the very issue of reparation. And what became evident very quickly in those two fora is that reparation means different things to different countries. If you could just expound on that from where you sit for us so we get more clarity, in addition to what Tahaka indicated earlier on, please.
Thank you very much. Of course, reparations means different things to different people because of the fact that you have a different colonial system in each of the jurisdictions that we are speaking about. So in the Caribbean, which has had the longest, I don't know if Tahaka pointed that out, the longest engagement with enslavement, the trauma, the continued trauma of inequality and racism, that we have a different approach. And we are the ones, I think, that have taken the lead on reparations. And the 10-point plan he pointed out is not simply about money, but it's about both internal and external repair. So the people who have not had that long engagement with enslavement, and who still are in understanding some of the systemic issues and the trauma that we faced, have a different perspective. A lot of people are looking at it simply as getting money, but we are looking at it as a developmental pact for the region. And we want that development pact because we think that there's a direct line between, and the Secretary General of the UN pointed that out earlier this year, that there's a direct line that can be drawn between enslavement, the resultant racism, and the continued oppression of people in the Caribbean and of people of African descent globally. And I think that we have to look at it on a continuum. It's not something that happens overnight. As noted, it is a process, and that process started from the day the first enslaved person was put on a ship from Africa. And I would posit that even before that, during the journey to the coast, and Tahaka and I just came from Ghana, and I went to the castle, Elmina Castle, where the enslaved were stored. And you can understand why there had been resistance and a call for an alleviation in the conditions that were forced upon African people from the beginning. So it's a process, and it takes different stages throughout history. But I think that we have reached the point where for example, the Permanent Forum, on which I am an elected member, has called for the next decade of people of African descent to be on reparations and repair and undoing the systemic damage that continues to be done to people of African descent.
Yeah, well, I have to admit, is it something about visiting Elmina Castle and that poor-raising experience that how I should put, drives us to ensure that we deal with this situation? Because I visited in 2019 and in 2022, and I believe Paul also visited too. And there's something about that place that just gets to you, you know. So I'm listening intently.
Well, I don't think that it's only the castle, but I think when you get to the castle, you realize finally what your fight has been about, what your internal trauma has been about. Because I didn't go. My first visit to the continent was not to Ghana or the coast, but when you get into Africa, you start to feel that sense of belonging, and I think it's a genetic thing, and I think that trauma is in our genes. And so when you get to Elmina, then everything comes to light, and you start to feel, and you actually feel it when you go into these dungeons. You feel the trauma that these people went through.
That is a fact.
Richard, you're muted.
Yeah, Dr. Suma, I don't know if the issue of reparations, there are two questions I have. The issue of reparations, and as of course, as you and Rantika have indicated, that it's something that's in large part Caribbean driven, and I wanted your sense of how much you think Caribbean people are aware and have buy into this issue of reparations, and have a sense of what it means and the kind of education about it. I mean, you hear it from time to time as Caribbean people, but how is there a lot of work to be done in that arena? That's one. And two, how much is there an intersect, or is there an intersect with the US? Because I know in 2021, I think there was a House Resolution number 40 with the US to set up a commission, a federal commission, to investigate the issue of reparations and apology, etc., etc. I don't know how far that resolution ever got, but I think it was somewhere in around 2021 that was brought up as a House resolution. And so I don't know how much of an intersect there is with the US experience and the Caribbean experience in terms of moving forward.
Thank you for the two questions. With regard to the first one, there is still need for a lot of communication and discussion and dialogue with the citizens of the region. it has taken different forms in the Caribbean. So in Jamaica, there's a big. It's not something that is done in every country, but in Jamaica, because of the fact that the University of the West Indies has taken the lead in Jamaica, and that the Center for Reparations Research is in Jamaica, there's a big national conversation around reparations. I can tell you in St. Lucia also, because I'm a member of the St. Lucia Reparations Committee since 2013, when we established, because I was ambassador to CARICOM and OECS at the time, when we established the committee, that St. Lucia has also done an extensive public education program. So we go into the schools. There are books in Guyana, there are books that are published on reparations. So there's a bigger discussion on the issue. And a lot of it also has to do with governmental support. So if government support the process, because we have established these committees as independent committees, really and truly. If government support, as in Antigua and Barbuda, where there's actually an ambassador named for reparations, then these things are more in the public domain. And recently, because heads of government are speaking about it more and more, you're hearing it on the ground. But the Permanent Forum for People of African Descent also has an NGO or CSO arm. So we deal with a lot of local organizations globally where we do that education. But I'm saying that the education is not enough, because there are people in the Caribbean who think that by saying, "Oh, let us forget about this thing and not concentrate on reparations," that we are actually dealing with the trauma. No, for putting it in the back of your mind does not enable you to deal with the trauma. And so we have to deal in the Caribbean with the internal self-repair, and we cannot do that without having the conversation on the ground. The Rastafarian movement has been fantastic in that regard, because their members know, and they sit on our committee in St. Lucia. I know they're in Barbados, etc. I'm not sure about their representation throughout the region, but they have always kept this issue of reparations in the forefront. The common message has to be there also. The common message. I am not always sure that all of us are sending the same message.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, Dr. Stuma, because I'll bring Tahaka back in the conversation. One of the reasons the Rastafari movement has been so successful is because they speak with a unified voice. And when you have different countries, different jurisdictions demanding different things, and also negotiating separately because of the economic ties with the countries that are being focused on for operation, you do have a unified voice. How is the movement to navigate that, Tahaka?
And I'd like to say something after
in Trinidad and Tobago, the Reparations Committee. In Trinidad and Tobago, the Reparations Committee does have the Rastafari movement represented. In Trinidad and Tobago, the Rastafari community is represented at the level of the National Reparations Committee, as well as we have an ambassador, Ambassador Jennifer Marchand, Ambassador CARICOM, who fits with the committee directly. So the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, via Ambassador Marchand, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Amy Brown, participates in ensuring that the agenda at the CARICOM level is mirrored at the local level. And then, of course, we have the First Peoples represented on the committee as well, because the issue of reparations has to do with reparations for native genocide as well as chattel enslavement, so chattel slavery of Africans and native genocide. So that's the platform that is there. And of course, you have other members of the committee that are active in the struggle for reparations, as well as the broader Pan-African movement is featured. With respect to, I want to just briefly list the 10-point plan, which would be one, a full formal apology. That's from the European colonizers. Every European country that had a hand in native genocide as well as chattel slavery. 2, repatriation. 3, indigenous peoples development program. 4, looking at cultural institutions, restitution in that regard. 5, public health crisis alleviation. Number 6, illiteracy education. Number 7, an African knowledge program. Number 8, psychological rehabilitation. Number 9, technology transfer, recognizing that the work of the Africans in terms of the slave trade and in terms of chattel enslavement was responsible for the development of the North Atlantic, of Europe and North America. So technology transfer is an integral part of that. And of course, the final one, debt cancellation. So this is a snapshot at the CARICOM level. And because the CARICOM has taken the lead with respect to that, you've had this action plan being mirrored across the board. There's one point I want to say before we go back to Dr. Suma, is that there's the African Union recognizes before the Organization of African Unity recognized the countries on the African continent. In the 1990s, when they changed the African Union, it recognized every African living outside of the continent as well as the sixth region. But recently, they formally recognized CARICOM, the government at the governmental level, to be part of the African Union as the sixth region, as a confirmed member of the sixth region. So you have governments at the conference. You had representatives. A couple would have been sent by the governments. Some are civil society groups from Latin America, where they don't have a significant population in terms of majority Africans, where they are not represented at the governmental level and may not be represented at that level at the African Union. And they have been asking to be included. And therefore, what you found happening at that conference, because Dr. Suma herself was a panelist, it was the Caribbean was properly represented in terms of educating and transferring the knowledge in terms of where we have reached with respect to reparations to our counterparts in Africa as well as in Latin America. And it is our responsibility to bring them in the conversation. So I hope that I can come again with some of my colleagues from Costa Rica, from Colombia, who are at the conference, so that they can also share. Some of them, they speak enough English to have a conversation with you, so that they can share what they are doing in their countries, and we can also share with them so that they can benefit, and there's a mutual exchange. I'll get back to Dr. Suma because I know she wanted to raise a point before I.
Thank you. And that point has to be the second question I was asked about the different regions and how they view reparations. Because CARICOM has taken the lead, as Tahaka has said, we have been able to build a global movement. And so from 2013, we have been engaging with the rest of the world on reparations. It's not just an internal thing. We are trying to make it a global movement. And I think at this point, with Africa on board, it is a global movement. So we have made contact with groups in the United States. We have in Latin America, where there has been a repression of the calls for reparations, and the struggle is very hard there because, as you heard, they are not the majority in parliaments, in governments, etc. So the CSOs have a lot of work to do. And we have a movement in Europe. We have a movement in Europe, in England, etc. But the nature of the calls for reparations, as we said earlier, are different, because we in the Caribbean are calling for reparations from colonial powers and their agents. So their banks, their insurance companies, their universities, their churches, etc., etc. But in the United States, it's a different movement because they are calling for reparations from their own government. We are not asking for reparations from our governments, but we do recognize that there are some internal things that our governments can do to help us to build generational wealth. And so, so the reparations we are calling for are from Britain, from the Dutch, from the French, from the Portuguese, and even the minor nations like the Danish, who pretend that they were not involved in it, and the Swedish, etc. So we are asking for all European countries.
Dr. Suma and Tahaka, how many countries in the world have been documented to actually have acknowledged the issues related to reparation and the atrocities of slavery, leading to discussions and conversations about reparation. Because one of the things that they knew will always come, and it's actually, as Tahaka said, on the linear level, is financial, but it's a lot wider than financial, as Tahaka indicated. But to start by acknowledging that you have wronged an entire people is the first step. How many countries have documented to have done that?
Can I start from the United Nations, where at the United Nations it has been recognized as a crime against humanity? So if you want to look at it from that broad perspective, every country that was involved has acknowledged that they committed a crime against humanity. Now, with regard to the as Tahaka had pointed out, there's a 10-point plan. We are asking for a formal apology. A number of people a number of countries have given expressions of regret because they think that legally, if they say I apologize, then they are going to be asked to atone in the form of some kind of financial compensation. So a lot of them are expressing these expressions of regret. We have had formal apologies from the Dutch, for example, from Germany, but none of them have been accompanied by reparations. And I think that part of the narrative must be, and we have to enforce that, yes, you are going to apologize, but you're also going to atone. And then the other part of the apology and the atonement must not be that you tell us how much you're giving to us. We are the ones to control that narrative, because there are a number of organizations stepping forward at this point, whether it's Harvard, whether it's Glasgow, whether it is Lloyd's of London, whether it is the Church of England, and say, okay, we're giving you 10 million, we're giving you 100 million. There's a group in the United Kingdom called the Heirs of Slavery, which started by coming one lady going to Grenada and acknowledging that her family was involved in enslavement and had actually owned plantations. She was a reporter at the BBC and had done the research. And now she has a group in England called the Heirs of Slavery. And all of those who have benefited through by building generational wealth and having very prominent positions, including parliamentarians, are saying, okay, our families were involved and we are giving you a certain amount of money to assuage, to make them feel a little better, but at the same time they are acknowledging their role, something that we did not have before. So we have made a lot of progress in that regard. I'm saying also that the United States, there are places in the United States that have actually paid compensation, and universities, for example, Northwest University has actually given financial sums to individuals. Our reparations committees in the Caribbean have not reached the point where we are asking for individual reparations. As you heard, we have a developmental plan, and we are going at it in that regard. We have some of us still don't agree that it should only be about development, that individuals should also get compensation in some form, whether it is in the form of land, because we are looking at land reform. One of the ways in which we have been disenfranchised is because we are not owners of land. And we have to look at these active programs of further decolonization of our countries in the post-independence period, where people who were enslaved will be given access to land so that they themselves can have some kind of tangible as the same as finances.
It begs the question, Dr. Suma and Tahaka, what are some of the negative pushbacks you all have been experiencing? Because we know that there will be naysayers, and they may also be naysayers of people of African descent who don't see the purpose, who don't see the reason behind this. What are some of those things you all have been experiencing?
Tahaka, do you want to go first?
If I could just, if I can help you, just to let us reflect, right? I was born in an organization called the National Joint Action Committee. And as long as I knew myself, I was born in 1983, my parents were focused on self-repair. They call it consciousness then. Consciousness of self, man know thyself. And they focused on self-consciousness, repair, but at an individual level, at a family level, at a communal level, making persons see the land in a positive way, because we treated the land as slavery work. So going back to the land was important as well. And these things were done. And even just to get persons of African descent in Trinidad and Tobago to call themselves African was a struggle. From 1970, you could have been the victim of abuse if you told somebody they were an African. But now you would hardly find in in large parts of the country, you'll hardly find a young person of school age who is of African descent referring to themselves as a Negro, as a Creole. You know, the least they would use is black, and they would readily say African, if not at least African descendant.
But it's
Because we have
interesting you say
recognized
that. When I went to Ghana,
mixed
people
parentage.
were happy to tell me that I was not African, I was of African descent, and I'm a Caribbean Trinidadian. So how do you reconcile that?
Well, how
You
we
got that
reconcile that is
experience
that
in
there was
Africa,
damage as
Paul?
well to Africa. There was damage to Africa. So for Africa's development trajectory was affected. Kingdoms were destroyed. There was massive depopulation. You're talking about maybe a quarter of the population, 30 million, or the estimates are up for argument, but let's say around 30 million of a population of about 100 million. So you had, just as the colonials worked on us here, don't be deluded to feel they didn't work on the African and the continent. So it was a joint effort of the European powers to rule for 1,000 years, you know, and part of the plan was dividing and ruling, and dividing within Africa, the ethnic groups within Africa, and then dividing the African and the continent later on from the African in the diaspora. But I can tell you, my wife is from Togo. She's Ghanaian. She was born in Ghana but registered in Togo. All right, there's an ex-colonial inheritance where France and Britain split the ethnic group in two. And I can tell you there was a powerful experience when I went with my wife at that time with my girlfriend, to my fiance at the time, to the cyber cafe, and I was going to the cyber cafe regularly with her, but as boyfriend girlfriend. And the guy who owned the cafe, when he saw Trinidad and Tobago, and he saw my passport because I had to fill documentation, he said, "You know, I always felt in French. Je pense que vous êtes Togolese. I always thought you were Togolese because you look Togolese. You understand? I just felt maybe your accent meant that you lived abroad. You understand? So just as you can be in a village in Trinidad, and somebody in a village next door could display symptoms of xenophobia when they go to their village, they say, you don't belong here in this village. This is not your place. Just as that can happen, you can leave your country here and go to Africa and find someone who also has symptoms of xenophobia. But that does not mean that the African is not clear on the question that we are one. So I think we should focus on in the main, just as you went to Ghana, the very Ghana that you went to, the current president, when he campaigned for election, he said he's using the Trinidad and Tobago model for developing the education sector. When he onboarded free senior high school education. You understand? So, and then they proceeded to employ Trinidad and Tobago consultants to the ministries of energy and so on. In fact, NGC just landed a significant landmark $1 billion deal with respect to Ghana's second gas train, and then Republic Bank has been granted a license a decade ago, and they are one of the biggest banks in Ghana. So the Ghanaian understands that we are one, but just as we say in Trinidad, teeth and tongue could clash, but they still live in the same mouth, you know? So you will have persons who have differences, but that doesn't change the fact that we are one people. With respect to the question regarding naysayers, I think that should answer it. The damage was also psychological. And just as you had this person who they suffered psychological damage, it is also important and incumbent on the reparations movement to focus on healing this psychological damage. And that starts with self-repair. So a significant part of the reparations movement is really focused on repairing oneself. So self-repair in terms of the health. We suffer diabetes and other things that the Professor Hilary Beckles points to in his research, and we suffer from other symptoms of colonialism and the inheritance of slavery. The effect on the family. When you have a man who is being treated as chattel, as a goat, as a ram goat, and you would carry him on a farm and have him say, okay, you meet with these 10 women, and then I'll sell you to an next plantation, and you meet with 10 women. That broke down the family. So the structures of the African came with structures, but the focus of chattel slavery was to break down those structures so that now you have submissive persons who can do the bidding of the European powers. And we can't expect that all persons will be repaired, but we have to focus on ensuring that we do as much repair as we can. And to echo the sentiments of our Black British panelists at the conference, the call for reparations will end when the repairing is ended.
Yeah.
Let me add, because that was very good, Tahaka. Let me add that we cannot have full repair if we do not, and as the only woman on this panel, if we do not repair the image of the African woman and the woman of African descent. Because women were suffered twice under the enslavement period. In fact, more than twice. But let me point out that they were both labor and they were exploited for labor. The two different labors. And so the image of the African woman as just somebody who is supposed to breed, somebody throughout history who has been told you are not beautiful because of your color of your skin or the texture of your hair. We need reparations for that. We need some kind of internal repair. If we do not repair, then Mother Africa, that's how they call Africa. They don't say Father Africa. Mother Africa will always have a challenge because her daughters are not repaired. And so I think that we also have to concentrate on that. And by doing that, we also have a complete look at the reparations movement. Because we're looking at reparations simply in terms of labor, but there are certain things that are peculiar to women. The experiments that were conducted on women, I mean, in terms of gynecology, women of African descent, even today, in the medical books, are said to be able to bear more pain than women of different other ethnic groups. And so they are treated differently even within the medical system at this point. And so we have to have a complete look at repair and reparations. I would like to add to what Tahaka has also said with regard to Africa. Part of the challenge before was that they told us that Africans sold us. Nobody has told us about the resistance within the African movement to enslavement in Africa. The destruction of kingdoms because of that resistance, because of superior technology in the form of guns, etc. The fact that they would come and raid entire villages with guns and take away the youth, that's the other issue that we have not been told about. That a lot of the people who were taken out of Africa were between 15 and 35. So you remove the childbearing age, you remove the productive sector in Africa, and you expect Africa to just spring back. And you turn around and say Africa is the dark continent because it's not moving. Until you step into Africa and you realize the progress that Africans have made on their own, despite colonialism and despite the repression. So I think that that's one of the most important things within the 10-point plan must be about educating ourselves about Africa and our history. So I think that all of that will help us within the movement and will give young people of African descent that pride in whom they are as people of African descent and as Africans. It's as simple as that.
Well, what are the next steps, Dr. Suma and Tahaka, in terms of the CARICOM aspect of this and then globally?
CARICOM has made a lot of strides. First of all, okay, go ahead. CARICOM has made a lot of strides. Quite apart from what I said with regard to putting the 10-point plan, on the table. We are at the point after 10 years of also reviewing that plan and strengthening that plan, because we realize that there's a direct link between sustainable development and climate change and reparations. So we're at the point where we are strengthening the 10-point plan. We are also at the point, because I said we must control our narrative as CARICOM people. CARICOM has also embarked on trying to quantify the amount that is owed. And I would like to point you to the Brattle report on reparations, which has the quantified up to $23 trillion for not only enslavement, but for loss and damage. They have taken a very practical look at it, and they have even quantified how much was women are specifically owed. So it's an extensive report that the university commissioned, and we should have a look at the Brattle report. So
what year was that? That's the reference, please.
The Brattle report.
What year was it?
This year.
Okay, thank you.
This year. So you just have to go and Google that.
Thank you.
Right. So just to bring it home, because persons listening would want to see what is happening. Before we bring it home, I want to say next year, the African Union CARICOM, in the joint conference, I guess Dr. Suma could also elaborate on that before we close. The Ambassador David Commisjong intimated that the hope is that reparations can be made the theme, or one of the main themes of that conference. Now, bringing it home, the Reparations Committee is going to have a communication and public education exercise, and we will roll this out soon. You know, Trinidad and Tobago is a country of seasons, and we are entering the season of Christmas and the Carnival. So therefore, sometime maybe after the festive season of Carnival, we would have, when the dust settles and people are back to the agenda, we can now have an education plan. It will include as well our youth in a significant way, and ensuring that what is mirrored at the national level, there's a youth core that takes it up as well, and connecting those youth to youth in the Caribbean, so that and broader as well with respect to Africa, so that they can situate their struggle in a broader struggle. There's also, because again we operate under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Foreign and CARICOM Affairs, we will be approaching the government based on the calendar of events for the year to see where we can have a broader event that puts milestones and markers in terms of where we are going with respect to reparations. So we have work to do, and I hope that on Power 102 we'll get an opportunity to bring more persons into the discussion on reparations.
So Taka, is it that you're satisfied that the Trinidad and Tobago government, because you're saying you come under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of CARICOM and Foreign Affairs, is it that you're thinking that the Trinidad and Tobago government needs to do more, or do you think that what they're doing is sufficient?
Well, I think the Trinidad and Tobago government is at the forefront of it. I mean, the call for reparations is supported significantly by the government. The Prime Minister would have made that, reflected on that in his UN General Assembly statement as well, where he would have endorsed efforts by Africa to bring the Caribbean to the discussion. And that would have cleared the path, as well as other members of the CARICOM heads of government who would have presented at the UN General Assembly in September, I believe. That would have cleared the path for this joint African Union CARICOM conference last month in Ghana. So the government is fully on board. And of course, I mean, Trinidad and Tobago's voice is a very important voice with respect to reparations. One of the largest Pan-African celebrations happens in Trinidad and Tobago. That is hosted by the Emancipation Support Committee. All right. And so therefore, whatever we do and say here it's important that we look at a global level, and it has been such. So it is now left for the committee to continue pushing the agenda. There are members of the Pan-African movement in Trinidad and Tobago that are part of CPAN, the Caribbean Pan-African Network, as well. Not also forgetting that native genocide is a main issue with respect to reparations. So therefore, it would be important to also speak to our First Peoples chief from Arima so that we can get perspectives on what civil society groups are doing on a local level as well. So this conversation has been a very high level because Dr. Suma is an accomplished international diplomat. But we will want to bring persons at the local level so that they can explain what they are doing, brothers and sisters of the Rastafari movement as well, persons on the Emancipation Support Committee, and you also have the work of the organization that Tree cannot deny its roots, as they say. So from the National Joint Action Committee, from where I sprung. The reality
we're running out of time. We want to give the last word to Dr. Suma.
So to close it off, the Caribbean has been bold in its call for reparations. All right, self-repair is very important as we go forward, and a key part of that is economics, personal economic development, generational wealth, as Dr. Suma referred to, intergenerational wealth, and international trade. And I will make this point. In March,
we are out of time. We're going to have you back on.
There's a national trade mission mounted by TTM to Ghana. Yes, okay. Right, so
Dr. Suma, last word for you.
Thank you very much. Let me say that the Caribbean and CARICOM has been very strategic in its approach to reparations. The one thing that we have not spoken about yet is the legal case. And CARICOM member states have indicated that they would like to take the case to the ICJ, but we are doing it in a strategic way. In June this year, we had a study tour with jurists from the African continent. They came to Barbados and we met with them for us to start making the legal case. The United States has set up a committee of judges. Next year, there's going to be a meeting between the Caribbean judges and the African judges to start looking at the case before we take it to the ICJ for us to get a legal opinion on it. And so we are approaching this in a very strategic way in the region. Thank you.
Thank you both for being with us this morning. We appreciate the conversation. Certainly we will try and have you back on to continue. We can't cover a lot in 45 minutes and there's a lot more to be covered.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Suma and Tahaka.
Thank you so much for being with us. Well, that's it for us for today. Thank you all. Have a great day. Be safe. Enjoy it in TNT.
All right. Folks, have a wonderful day. Remember to let go and let God. Richard will speak tomorrow.
You have news now, Paul. So anyway. Just reminding him now and then. Have a fantastic day, whatever you do. Remember to smile and laugh despite all that's going on this troubled planet. Remember to smile and laugh. It's good for your health. Have a good one.
All right, gentlemen. Speak to you guys tomorrow morning, right here on the Power Breakfast Show. Of course, it is just a little after 8 o'clock, 4 minutes after 8 o'clock. I cannot see Paul. But let's get into our news brief.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
It is 8 a.m. or 8:04 a.m. This is news to the hour. The headlines. Good morning. The Caribbean region has the longest and most brutal encounter with atrocities of slavery. Dr. June Suma, speaking at the Power Breakfast Show earlier this morning, as a member of the St. Lucia Reparation Committee, said, "This has been the foundation for discussions related to reparations for peoples and jurisdictions fighting for reparations in many areas, including full formal apology, reparations, Indigenous Peoples Development Plan, cultural institutions, illiteracy education, psychosocial rehabilitation, technology transfer, and debt cancellation." Venezuelans await the results of Sunday's referendum on disputed territory with Guyana. Its President Irfan Ali in Guyana says, in Guyana, there's nothing to fear in the coming days from the Venezuelan referendum. The Ministry of Trade warns of fraud in importing or buying foreign used vehicles. And the West Indies beat England by 4 wickets in a one-day international series opener against England in Antigua. Day 2 kicks off this Wednesday. We'll have more news coming up at 12 noon. Good morning.